Rugrats, a show about babies where no adult is ever actually in charge. Rugrats is remembered as a sweet show about babies and imagination. That's how it's packaged. That's how we remember it. But if you sit down and actually watch it as an adult, you realize something unsettlingly pretty fast. This show is basically a documentary about what happens when supervision becomes optional. Every episode starts the same way. There are adults present, there are adults alive, there are adults technically responsible, and yet within minutes the babies are gone. Not metaphorically gone, physically gone, crawling toward danger like it owes them money. Open staircases, power tools, shopping malls, construction sites, traffic. At no point does anyone say, hey, maybe we should watch the babies. Because in Rugrats, watching the babies is treated like a hobby, not a requirement. The adults aren't evil, they're worse, they're busy. Stu is always inventing something that looks like it would void several insurance policies. Diddy is always apologizing to people who aren't there. Conversations trail off mid-sentence. Nothing ever finishes. The adults are stressed, distracted, and perpetually overwhelmed, which the show presents as normal. And when one's really in charge, the babies fill the vacuum. Not because they're capable, but because nobody else is doing the job. That's not empowerment, that's improvisation. Tommy Pickles cannot form a complete sentence, but he can organize a search and rescue operation with military efficiency. These kids don't understand how doors work, but they understand objectives. They don't know what money is, but they understand leverage. They mishear adult conversations and immediately construct elaborate theories that somehow make more sense than what the adults are doing. And the universe rewards them for it. That's the key. They are wrong about almost everything and still succeed. Because Rugrats is a world where misunderstanding doesn't punish you, it promotes you. And nowhere is this clearer than Grandpa Lou. Grandpa Lou is supposed to be the responsible one, the elder, the authority figure. Instead, he's a chaos generator in slippers. This man forgets where the babies are, forgets what he's doing, forgets why he's responsible, and occasionally forgets the laws of physics. Half the time, Grandpa Lou doesn't prevent danger, he introduces it. He'll say something like, hey kids, want to see something funny? And suddenly, everyone's dangling off the balcony, and the show plays it like, Grandpa Lou. No, that man shouldn't be within arm's reach of a toddler. And yet nobody ever intervenes. I'll just do it later then. All of us. Because nothing ever goes wrong, that's the magic trick Rugrats pulls. The danger is real, but the consequences never stick. A baby can fall, crash, wander, get lost, and by the next episode, everything's fine. No injuries, no scars, no trauma. The reset button gets hit every 22 minutes, and that feels comforting until you realize what it trains you to expect. Because Rugrats doesn't teach kids that adults will protect them, it teaches kids that things will probably work out even if adults are distracted. That systems don't need maintenance, that chaos resolves itself, that nobody really has to be in charge. Which is adorable when you're 4, less adorable when you're an adult trying to figure out why nothing ever feels stable. Now, to be fair, this wasn't accidental. The creators of Rugrats, Arlene Klasky, Gabor Subo, and Paul Germain, have explained in interviews that the show was written entirely from the baby's point of view. Adults weren't meant to be stupid or malicious, they were meant to fade into the background. Adult conversations were intentionally half-heard, adult decisions were filtered through misunderstandings. Reality was allowed to bend because the story wasn't about how the world actually works. It was about how it feels before you understand it. That was the creative intent, that's where the writer's explanation ends. Because intent and outcomes are not the same thing, when you repeat that structure for years, something else happens. You don't just show how children experience the world, you normalize a world where adults never fully show up, and that matters because the adults in Rugrats aren't happy. They love their kids, sure, but they're exhausted, distracted, and vaguely dissatisfied. So the show quietly offers a solution. If adults can't manage the world, children will adapt to it, which sounds inspirational until you realize that adaptation isn't a gift, it's a requirement. Resilience becomes mandatory, and resilience is great until it replaces responsibility. Rugrats doesn't say adults should do better, it says kids are resilient, which is true, but resilience isn't infinite. It's a coping mechanism, and eventually you stop asking why no one's paying attention because you've learned not to expect it. That's the part that lingers. Most of the people who grew up watching Rugrats are adults now. The distractions have changed. It's not pudding and phone calls anymore, it's notifications, schedules, and screens. Same absence, different technology. And we still tell ourselves the same thing. They'll be fine, and usually they are until they aren't. That's why Rugrats feels different when you rewatch it. Not because it was bad, not because it was malicious, but because it quietly trained a generation to be comfortable with low-grade chaos, to assume someone else would handle it, even when no one ever did. The Deadly Bot takeaway: Rugrats taught us that everything would work out even if no one else was really in charge, which explains a lot more than anyone intended.